Hey everybody, I'm Tatiana, and today we're going to talk about the difference between intent and impact and how those two things work together to influence how we communicate with each other. Stay tuned. You're listening to Tatiana, and these are my words of wisdom. So, intent versus impact. Now, I could absolutely Google the definitions and we could talk about what they mean, but I'm not comfortable treating you like you don't know how to Google, so we'll just do a basic explanation of things. So, intent versus impact. Intent is basically the reason or purpose behind what someone has done. Impact is the effect that the action has on someone or something. Two simple things, vastly different though. Let's use a basic example. There's a car accident. You're driving, you come to a stop. The person behind you rear ends you. Now, they did not mean to do that intent-wise. It was clearly an accident. They didn't mean to do it. But when you get out your car and you assess the damage, if they come to you and go, well, I didn't intend to, so I guess I don't have to do anything. That's a problem. We know, especially in that example, we know that whether you intended to or not doesn't mean you're not responsible for addressing the damage that's caused. Car accidents are such an easy example though, because there's a clear problem and there's a clear damage done. Like you can see both things. And if you damage my car, you know you've hurt me. You can see that you caused damage to my car. The problem with our communication is you can negatively impact someone and they not show signs. So you don't look at them and know that they've been hurt. And so instead of us instantly responding from a place of empathy, people have a tendency to get defensive. And it becomes, I didn't intend to. And while that's important, because malicious intent is a whole nother category, it's accepted that you did not intend to hurt someone. Unfortunately, in the way we speak to each other, we end up railroading our friends and significant others' feelings by valuing intent over impact. So if I'm having a conversation with my significant other and I say something hurtful, and then they go, that hurt me, and I say, well, I didn't mean for it to. That's not a response. Don't do that. Don't do that. It's accepted that you didn't mean for them to. If they thought that you meant to, you wouldn't be together. If your friends saw that you meant to hurt them, you wouldn't be friends. Good intent is already established. If I'm having a conversation with you and you say something to harm me and I say, oh, that hurts, I already know that you didn't mean to. That we've established. What we need to do now is acknowledge that a hurt has happened and address it. So if I say something rude to my friend and they go, oh, that really hurt, and my response will normally be, I'm so sorry. I did not know that happened, or I did not mean for that to happen. I am so sorry. It's always two things. I'm sorry. It was an accident. I'm sorry. We start there. And then you work into dealing with the consequences of what's being said. Sometimes the consequences require more work on your relationship. So maybe you two need to sit down and have a conversation about what your boundaries are, where your boundaries are, why your boundaries are what they are. All those conversations can happen, but they can't happen until an acknowledgement of a wrongdoing has been made. So if you do something, even if it's on accident, because your friends are going to assume it was on accident. Your partner's hopefully going to assume it's on accident. Even if they're angry at you, there's the underlying assumption that it's on accident. We can't stand it. We can't stay in a place of intent. I didn't intend to. Now, my life is not the same as everybody else's, and I know that. I've had my fair share of traumas. And if you have a different opinion about intent versus impact, feel free to drop it in the comments below. I'd love to have a conversation with other people about it. But from my experience, it's important to acknowledge impact because that's the thing that tends to last really, really long. So I'll give you an example. There was a situation with one of my friends where they said some really awful things that were extremely triggering. The comments were mean, they were malicious, it was one of those things where people say things because they're hurt and so they just lash out. And while I know that that's what happened, I know that they were themselves hurt and they were just lashing out, it doesn't change the fact that them lashing out hurt me. Now, when this situation happened, I immediately cut ties because I am a runner and I know that. I'm working on it. But I immediately cut ties because for me, no one's going to protect me like I'm going to protect me. So I did what was best for me and I stopped talking to that person. But I still needed to talk about it. So I would talk to my friends about it and I'd tell them what happened. And several of my friends responded with, well, they didn't mean to. And I was like, okay, what does that have to do with anything? Oh, well, but they didn't mean to hurt you. Good. That would make the situation worse, not better. Yeah, they didn't mean to. And a couple of people recommended that I just forgive this person and we become friends again. And I was very confused because that is terrible advice. Don't do that. If you've drawn a boundary, respect people's boundaries. But I understood why they felt the way they felt because they had a relationship with this person. So they were looking at it from, this person's great, this person's great. And I don't negate that. I believe this person is a great person. Everybody's not meant for me. Every relationship isn't meant for me. Everybody isn't meant to play the same role in my life. I walk into situations like that. I can meet a great person who's wonderful to me and awful to you, and vice versa. Everybody cannot be everything to everyone. Very important life lesson. We all don't play the same roles in each other's lives. So I recognize that they viewed this person with a more positive outlook than I had. And mind you, I had those feelings until this incident. Now, as I told them, it's cool. You can stay friends with this person. It's not going to impact my relationship with you. I understand. But telling me to go back because they haven't done this to you is insane. And I mean that. If there's a snake in a cage, I'm not at all implying that this person's a snake. I'm not, just an example. If there's a snake in a cage and I put my hand in there and the snake bites me, giving me the advice of, it hasn't bit me when I put my hand in the cage, so put your hand back in the cage, is terrible advice. What you can say is, oh, well, it didn't bite me. Can you tell me about what happened? So we could talk about the situation. Oh, okay, well, I didn't do it that way. I didn't have that response. It wasn't in that mood when I went to touch the snake. Okay, this is how I handle the situation. Would you like to try that? And if I say no, because I'm afraid of snakes, if I say no, I'm good, that should also be respected, because asking someone to go and put themselves into a potentially dangerous situation, again, because it wasn't dangerous when you did it, is a terror. Don't do that to your friends. Don't do that to your friends. You love your friends. Don't do that to your friends, okay? So what I'm saying is intent versus impact, two very important things. Someone can have good intention, or maybe they don't recognize that they've done something wrong. And that happens to all of us. I am no stranger to doing the wrong thing, saying the wrong thing, behaving the wrong way. I have my fair share of fuck ups. Like, this is not just me. I'm not at all saying that only bad things happen to me, because that is not true. What I am saying is, do not instantly tell other people to assume good intent, and do not instantly tell people that they should go back, or that, well, they didn't mean to, so it's okay. Because it's not okay. It's not okay. Now, on the flip side of this, and why I kind of wanted to have this discussion now, I've noticed, I was wondering why this was happening. Why is it that we seem to value intent so much? Why is it always, well, they didn't intend to? And what I realized, because I caught myself doing this with one of my other friends, they had a situation happen to them, different friend, and there wasn't a solution. It was a situation where this thing happened and there was nothing that they could do to fix it. It was just kind of, it happened. And when someone tells you something that there is no way to fix, where it's just a situation and you're just stuck going, wow, I'm so sorry. Your instinct, your immediate response is to say, oh, you didn't mean to, you're a good person. And we've collectively attached good intent to being a good person. So if you didn't mean to, then you're still a good person. So everything else doesn't matter. And that's kind of what I realized was happening, was they were telling me what happened. I was like, oh yeah, but like you didn't mean to. And I caught myself and I stopped and I was like, oh my gosh, that's how this happens. That's why we feel this way. Because when something happens and we don't know what else to say, we say, oh, you didn't mean to. We need to stop doing that. We need to find a better way to respond to people in pain, because oh, you didn't mean to does not negate the damage that's been done. And I believe what ended up happening, because like I said, I caught myself saying it, was I reframed and I was like, I know that you didn't intend to do that thing. However, I'm not going to discount that person's lived experience. So while there isn't anything I can say or do to help, and there isn't anything you can do to fix it, I'm sorry that this happened to you, and I'm sorry that that happened to them, and I'm here to listen. Because that's all we should say. Because giving other people passes for things that they've done to other people causes more problems. We end up gaslighting our friends and railroading emotions, and then we forget that empathy should be at the center of what we do in our communications. So yes, assume good intent. I don't know, I use air quotes, but that doesn't have anything to do with the impact. I can have good intent and do something wrong. So we need to be able to understand that assuming good intent is not a path. It's not a, well, we need to just take that other person's thoughts into consideration. Because when you're on the opposite side of that space, that's not what you want to hear. You don't want to be told that something's hurt you and everybody's telling you, oh, well, think about what the other person, they didn't mean to. That's horrible. That makes you feel terrible. What we want to hear in those spaces is, I'm so sorry that happened to you. How can I help you? What can I do to sit with you, to assist you? How can I make it better? How can I help hold this with you? We do not need to say, oh, they didn't intend to. That's dismissive. So can we all please stop doing that? Intent, great. Impact, extremely important. Now, there are times where you had decent intent and the impact was bad. I am, again, no exception to having had a good intent and a horrible negative impact, or to not having known something and that causing problems. I'm not at all excluding myself from that reality. In the situation where you have good intent and something bad happens that you can't fix, you take the lesson and you apply it forward. You don't excuse yourself. You should forgive yourself. You don't excuse it, but you apply it. So you take the lesson. If I do something where I have a negative impact and it has consequences, I take the lesson and I apply it to the next part of my life, or the next situation where it's something similar. Take the lesson and apply the lesson forward, and try to apply the lesson in a non-judgmental way. As in, don't beat yourself up for having made a mistake. I'm not saying anyone should do that. And I think that's why we tend to value intent over impact. Is because if we have a negative impact, we instantly think we're a bad person. And that's not true. You're not a bad person because you make mistakes. You are human because you make mistakes. We are human because we make mistakes. So you don't have to believe that you're a bad person because you've done something wrong. We all do things wrong. All of us. That doesn't make us bad people. However, we do have to accept that sometimes our well-intended actions have negative consequences. And in that space, you take the lesson and you apply it forward, okay? So takeaways, learn that lesson and allow that lesson to help inform future decisions that you make. Now, if you like today's topic, remember to like, share, and subscribe. And check out this video. I think you'll love it.